Hey guys, Jake here, and welcome back to another Pokemon Go video. And in this one, actually, we're going to be looking at the regionals Pokemon meta here, and we're going to be going over all kinds of things in this video. So, to start this off, I'm just going to explain what exactly we're going to be talking about in this video to give you guys a brief overview. So first, we're going to be looking at the rankings for the entire meta of regional Pokemon that you are able to use. That is Boulder, that is Twilight, Tempest, and Kingdom Cup. All those cups, you can use those Pokemon in anything with those typings. As long as it has at least one of those typings, you are allowed to use it. And then we're going to be going over some team composition strategies and some good team compositions in the meta here. And then we're going to be taking a look at a spreadsheet actually that shows all of the top, I think it's about 20 or 22, somewhere around the 20s. It's a spreadsheet with all of the matchups for the regional Pokemon, and we're going to be showing you some graphics to give you guys examples of some solid team compositions and what their coverages are and how each of these Pokemon in the meta can cover each other. Because I know this meta has a ton of Pokemon, guys, and I bet a lot of you out there are probably confused, or you aren't so solid on your typings, or whatever the case may be. So I am here to help you guys and show you guys how the entire regionals meta boils down. So without further ado, let's get right into the PvPoke rankings for regionals. Alrighty, so here we are, guys. We are in pvpoke.com. Huge shout out to them for creating this website for all of us to use as a resource, and for making these incredible rankings and all these different features like team building, battling, everything. I really appreciate them for doing all this. So first we want to go to Season 1 Regionals as we are here. And now let's take a look. Let's just take a look at the top 20 in the meta here. Actually, let's do top 25. So first, of course, we have the god himself, the Power-Up Puncher, Medicham. Next, we have Azumarill come in at number 2. Then we have Altaria at number 3. Skarmory at number 4. Quagsire is number 5. I'm going to keep going down the list here. Wishcash at 6. Venusaur at 7. Sableye, Lucario, Swampert, Bastiodon, Melmetal, Tropius, Frostlass, Machamp, Hitmonchan, Bronzong, Steelix, Hitmontop, Lugia, Lantern, Haunter, Lapras, Mantine, Charizard, Spiritomb, Toxicroak, Umbreon, Noctowl, and Gallade. So that's pretty much the top 30. As you guys can see here, there's 251 picks for this cup, or well, for this regional. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot to do. So I'm going to boil it down to the top 20 or so, to give you guys a good picture of what exactly is good and what has the highest percentage of winning in the meta, so that you can invest in those Pokemon, and so that you can have an edge over your opponent who may not know what is the top Pokemon to use. So first off here, let's take a look at the entire regional meta, or well, the top 30 or so Pokemon in the regionals meta and how they fare against each other. Alright, so here we go. I made this all with the help of PvPoke, using their simulations and stats to find out these matchups and the core meta options here. And then we have on the right the flex / wildcard options. If you don't know what flex is, it's basically Pokemon that are able to have a few roles, and that are able to accomplish a few things within a lineup. So those are basically Pokemon that are specialized for one to 3 roles. I'd say is a solid amount. So here we have the core meta options. So we're gonna start off here with Azumarill, and basically all you see here Azumarill, Medicham, Altaria, Bastiodon, Venusaur, and Sableye. These are the 6 that you're probably going to see the most of. Skarmory is definitely, or Altaria is definitely replaceable with Skarmory. I've been hearing a lot of talk on the PvP Discord that Skarmory seems like the better option, but I'm just putting Altaria here just because its percentages are slightly higher, and Sableye is definitely going to be ran on a lot of people's teams as long as they have the investment and the Stardust. So anyways, to start this off, we have a Azumarill here. This blue arrow means positive matchup, red arrow means not positive, means it'll lose in these scenarios. So let's start off with Azumarill's positive matchups. Azumarill has positive matchups against Altaria, Sableye, Medicham, Bastiodon, Skarmory, Frostlass, Steelix, Charizard, which his head is blocked off by Medicham there, Umbreon, and Alolan Marowak. And then on the left here, you can see its unfavorable matchups being Venusaur, Tropius, Alolan Muck, that Melmetal there, Tentacruel, Lantern, and Haunter. Then Medicham, we have positive matchups against Alolan Muck, Quagsire, Umbreon, Bastiodon, Venusaur, Lantern, Melmetal, and Steelix. And it will definitely lose hard to things like Haunter, Sableye, Altaria, Azumarill, Frostlass, Alolan Marowak, Charizard, and Skarmory. Next we have Altaria, the king of dragons, at least in the Great League, against Charizard. It will win against Charizard, Venusaur, Tropius, Lantern, Haunter, Quagsire, Medicham, Alolan Marowak, Alolan Muck, and Sableye. And then it will lose pretty badly to Frostlass, Melmetal, Skarmory, Steelix, Whiscash, Azumarill, and Bastiodon. So we just covered half of probably the 3 popular options that you'll see in the meta. Now onto our next 3. The first one of that 3 starts with Bastiodon. So Bastiodon has positive matchups against Charizard, Frostlass, Tropius, Melmetal, Umbreon, Alolan Marowak, Skarmory, Haunter, Alolan Muck, Altaria, and Sableye. Bastiodon will definitely lose to things like Quagsire, Medicham, Lantern, Steelix, Venusaur, Azumarill, and Whiscash. Oh, and to give you guys a little note here, all these are assuming Azumarill is running Hydro Pump and Play Rough. Just a little FYI there as to why Azumarill is going to win against Bastiodon. And then Venusaur will have positive matchups against Azumarill, Whiscash, Quagsire, Lantern, Tropius, Bastiodon, Umbreon, Sableye, and Steelix. And then it will have unfavorable matchups against the Medicham, Skarmory, Altaria, Alolan Muck, Haunter, Alolan Marowak, Melmetal, Frostlass, and Charizard. And last but not least, in the top 6, in my opinion, of the Regionals core meta, we have Sableye. Sableye is going to be in positive matchup against Haunter, Alolan Marowak, Medicham, the Melmetal there, the Skarmory, the Frostlass, Charizard, Alolan Muck, Lantern, Steelix. And then Frostlass will have pretty unfavorable matchups against Azumarill, Venusaur, Bastiodon, Altaria, Umbreon, Quagsire, Tropius, and Whiscash. So yeah, that right there, guys, is what I think and what I've been reading about the regionals. That is the core meta. So those 6 in the middle you see there are probably going to be the most ran Pokemon. There's a few that are replaceable, like obviously you can replace Sableye for Haunter or Beedrill. You can replace Venusaur for Tropius. Or you can even replace it for like a ground water, like Whiscash or Quagsire, or Lantern even. Then we have Bastiodon, which isn't really a replaceable Pokemon. I mean, besides like Melmetal, that's pretty much the only thing that can do the same role as Bastiodon is Melmetal. And then Altaria is replaceable with Skarmory for sure. Then this Medicham is replaceable with Toxicroak. They both kind of have the same sort of matchups, almost. And then Azumarill, I guess you could replace that with Lantern. But yeah, let's move into the flex wildcards here on the right. So we have Alolan Muck, being able to do that that poison and utility with Acid Spray and whatever other charge move you'd like. It can be used for a few different roles. It can be in a Azumarill killer if you want it to be. Then Haunter here is a very interesting one because Haunter will have positive matchups against things like Azumarill and Medicham, and also Venusaur. It's quite interesting. It'll also beat Frostlass and Alolan Marowak, I believe. But we'll be taking a look at team compositions here with Haunter in a second. Then we have Tentacruel, which is a wall to Azumarill, and it can do other roles as well. It can beat your Charizards. It can do well against your grass types with Poison Jab. Then we have Frostlass here, which hits the ground water boys pretty hard. It will hit Frostlass hard, Tropius, and it also resists any of like the fighting moves coming from a Medicham. Then we have this Melmetal here, which actually can fill a role of Bastiodon. It'll beat pretty much the same things, except it will win against Azumarill. It'll win against Skarmory. It'll win against a lot of things. Altaria, all the flyers pretty much. Then we have Alolan Marowak here, which is really interesting. With the ground and the fire moves to beat things like Venusaur, Tropius. It'll beat the ghosts. Like Haunter, I think it'll be pretty close. And then yeah, with that Fire Blast, obviously, it can beat Steelix. And then now moving on here to Steelix itself, which will be a pick for some people if they don't have either Basti or Melmetal. It can beat Melmetal and Bastiodon. And it can also kill a few other Pokemon in the meta like Altaria, like Frostlass. I'm pretty sure has a close matchup because of that crunch. I believe it beats Haunter. And then Charizard here, we won't really see much of Charizard at all. A few people will run it for sure, but I don't think we'll be seeing it everywhere. And obviously, you guys know the role of that. It beats the grass types and anything weak to flying moves. It also beats the ice. And then we move on to Beedrill here, which is quite the same role as Haunter, except Haunter beats Beedrill. So Beedrill will beat things like Azumarill and Medicham. It'll be the grass types, but it will get walled by anything that's rock, flying, steel. So basically it'll get walled by half the meta. Things like Altaria and Bastiodon, you will not do well against at all. And then we have Toxicroak here. Having interesting matchups. It ties or wins usually against Azumarill. It will beat Bastiodon. And before I speak on its other matchups, I'm not 100%. I haven't really done many sims, but I know it can beat things like Azumarill and Bastiodon, just based on its moveset and its typing. So then I wanted to include some confusion users because ever since Haunter has been brought up in Poisons, the confusion users, I kind of made a comeback here. So these two, Galate and Bronzong, will do super well against any poison types or fighting types like Beedrill, Toxicroak, Tentacruel. I think it could do pretty well against Haunter. It will like destroy in like 3 hits. So yeah, anything weak to Psychic these two will have a nice little role there if you want to play the anti-meta, or the anti-meta, I guess. But yeah, that finishes off the regionals core meta options that I have made, and what I believe is the core meta. And then obviously you guys have your flex wildcard options. Usually you only want one of those on your team, so just remember that. So now we're going to go look at that really spicy part that I'm sure a lot of people want to see, and that's team compositions and coverage. So let's get right into those. Alrighty guys, here we are. We're looking at example number 1 of a team composition I made up for the regionals tournament. And basically, this is kind of similar to the other graphic I made, except this one is just three sets of 3 teams each, 3 Pokemon, and what exactly each of them cover. And so a lot of these Pokemon I made sure had good coverage, and we're gonna be taking a look at their specific counters that you need to watch out for on PvPoke. So anyways, we're gonna start this off with a team composition of Venusaur, Bastiodon, and Sableye. Also, if you guys want, you guys can tell me in the comments below what teams you've come up with and how they work well with each other. And oh yeah, I forgot to forget one thing. So yeah, right before we hop into that team composition, actually, I forgot to mention this, but this spreadsheet right here was made up by the PvP Pokemon Go Discord, the international one. You can see all the creators are up here. There's 5 others. I believe that's what that means. For various people viewing, and they made this for us so that we could see the regional matchup meta. And basically here we have a user guide, and this shows us the one shield best case scenario in each shield fight, and the one shield worst case scenario in a shield fight. And best case means you land your shield bait, and then worst case means you fail your shield bait. And then each matchup is color coded. So white means a light win, bright green means strong win or resounding win, red basically means a light loss, strong loss, or resounding loss, depending on the shade of red. Goes from pretty light red to pretty dark red. And then orange or gray means a simultaneous knockout, meaning charge move priority could play a factor there. And all sims are taken from PvPoke, so thank you, Kakuna Matata. And so yeah, basically you want to look at each of these columns. As you can see here, we got Melmetal, Azumarill with its different movesets, Altaria, Skarmory. Pretty much everything. The top like 20 or so within the meta. Oh, well, this is top like 30, I think. No, it's top 42, or well, 40, no, 39, top 40, whatever. Yeah, this goes by columns. So yeah, if you guys want this link, I'll put it down below in the pinned comment. If you guys want to check this out, you can take a look at the matchups yourself. And to just give you an example here, to show you guys how to use this guide, we have Tropius at the top, and then on the left is all of its matchups in the top 40 of the meta. And then each of these matchups is shown here. The column on the left of each one of these Pokemon is without shields. The middle column is one shield best case, and then the right column is one shield worst case. It doesn't show 2 shields. Yeah, I just wanted to show you guys that and how to use it. Basically, to find out how a team plays with each other, you go to each Pokemon and then you see what matchups they have, and then you look at the other Pokemon and see which weaknesses you cover. So Venusaur, we can see here, will beat Azumarill with Hydro Pump and Ice Beam or Play Rough. As you can see, these 3 rows is all Azumarill with different movesets. And then if we look at the right here, here's Bastiodon. And then here's the Azumarill. So as we can tell by the color and the rating, Venusaur here is a great cover for Bastiodon against Azumarill. So that's how you can tell. And the red is a bad matchup, and green is good. Orange is tie, and white is just barely a win. And then for the numbers, anything close to 0, anything from 0 to 500 is a loss. Anything from 500 and up is a win. So that's just to provide some clarifications on how the spreadsheet works. So now let's look at the first matchup. The first composition, I should say. So as you can see here, we got Venusaur, Bastiodon, and Sableye. For a pretend team composition number 1. And Venusaur, these blue arrows means positive matchup, red arrow means negative. And here we have Venusaur covering for Bastiodon mainly. It covers it because it will beat a lot of the Bastiodon counters. It's pretty much that simple. It'll beat Quagsire, Lantern, Azumarill, Whiscash, and another Bastiodon. As long as it has shields, it'll win. And then it'll lose to things like Muck, Alolan Beedrill, Charizard, Skarmory, and Altaria. And as we can see here with Bastiodon, it covers exactly what Venusaur is weak to. So this is a good team composition right here. It covers for Azumarill's weakness to Skarmory, Alolan Beedrill, Charizard, and Altaria. And it loses to what Venusaur can cover. So the same things as down here. Quagsire, Whiscash, Medicham, Azumarill, and Lantern. But the Medicham could win against Venusaur. But now we have Sableye here to cover for both of these. So Sableye will beat things like Beedrill, Haunter, Medicham, Toxicroak, Alolan Marowak, and Charizard. So if you take a close look at these, a lot of these Pokemon can beat these two, and Sableye will beat them. So that's perfect coverage there. And then Sableye will lose to what Bastiodon can mostly cover. So that is Altaria, Venusaur, Azumarill, and Bastiodon. So Venusaur covers for Sableye's weakness to, for example, Azumarill, and then Bastiodon covers Sableye's weakness to Altaria. And then obviously the Venusaur and Bastiodon can mirror each other if you're running the same exact lineup. So yeah, if you guys want, try this out in some practice battles with your friends and see, and comment below, tell me how it worked for you. So on to the next team composition. So now we have another team comp that I personally enjoy running. And just to clarify, these Pokemon aren't in any way leads. Like the first Pokemon isn't the lead. That's your choice, but a lot of these matches can just come down to bad leads, and that's okay. But yeah, anyways, we got a Medicham, Haunter, and Skarmory lineup here. To start this off, we have Medicham beating things like Whiscash, Bastiodon, Lantern, Melmetal, and Alolan Muck. And then it'll lose to Beedrill, Sableye, Azumarill, Altaria, Skarmory, and Haunter. And then next we have Haunter, which beats the Medicham. It beats Frostlass. It beats the weakness of Medicham, Beedrill. It also beats Venusaur, and also beats Azumarill, which is one of his counters for Medicham. And then Haunter loses to Altaria, Skarmory, Sableye, Alolan Muck, Whiscash, Bastiodon, and Melmetal. So as you can see here, we are weak to Sableye, but the reason I made this team is because Sableye isn't going to be a 100% guarantee in everyone's lineup. It's pretty costly. Costs a lot of Stardust, a lot of candy to max out, and a lot of people would rather just go with other options like Haunter. And yeah, this is a tricky lineup to run for sure. So you just want to make sure you don't get in a scenario where you're up against Sableye and like you're stuck without shields or something. This is a lineup. This is a risky lineup, but if you see your opponent Um, if you see they don't have a Sableye, then you're in the clear for the most part. And then now we have Skarmory beating Beedrill, Alolan Muck, which is Haunter's counter, Whiscash, which is Haunter's counter. Medicham there, it can beat Altaria. It's more of a soft counter, but there you go. You have a counter to your Medicham weakness and your Haunter weakness, and then it beats a Haunter, which is huge because that covers for Medicham's weakness to Haunter. And then we have Venusaur. And then Skarmory is weak to Lantern, Melmetal, Charizard, Azumarill, and Bastiodon, which most of these are covered by the Medicham, so it can beat Altaria or Skarmory's weakness to Melmetal, sorry, and Lantern and Bastiodon. So that's pretty huge. So I consider this team composition pretty good. You guys can try it out or tell me in the comments below a team composition you made up using the spreadsheet. And yeah, let's move on to my last team composition. So last but not least here, we have our third team comp with coverage. We have Azumarill, Altaria, and Melmetal. So Azumarill will have positive matchups against Sableye, Medicham, Charizard, Skarmory, Frostlass, Altaria, Whiscash, and Bastiodon. But it will lose to things like Lantern, Haunter, Melmetal, not Charizard, sorry, Venusaur, and then Alolan Muck. Then this is where things come into play. So Skarmory, or not, I keep calling Altaria Skarmory. Dang it. Altaria will beat Charizard, will beat Whiscash, will beat Lantern, one of Azumarill's counters. Alolan Muck, one of Azumarill's counters again. Sableye, Venusaur, another one of Azumarill's counters, and this Medicham, which both these Pokemon counter pretty nicely. And then Altaria will lose to Skarmory, which Azumarill counters, Bastiodon, which Azumarill counters with Hydro Pump, Azumarill, that Melmetal, and the Frostlass, which Azumarill covers. So we see the two common weaknesses here is Melmetal, but it is pretty squishy and it can lose to these Pokemon if Melmetal is down on shields. But then we have the Mirror Match Melmetal, which I think could be safe against a Mirror Match basically. And just be wary that not everyone has a Switch, and not everyone knows somebody that has a Switch. So I don't think Melmetal will be super common like that. I don't think Melmetal or Bastiodon will actually be really prominent, but we shall see. So Melmetal beats things like Beedrill, which covers Azumarill's weakness to Beedrill. Alolan Muck, same thing. Skarmory covers Altaria's weakness to Skarmory. It will beat that out pretty hard. It will beat Altaria pretty hard. It'll beat Azumarill, which again covers for Altaria's weakness. It'll beat Venusaur, which covers for Azumarill's weakness to Venusaur. And then it will beat Frostlass, which covers Altaria's weakness to Frostlass. But then we lose to Whiscash, Bastiodon, that Medicham, Toxicroak, Sableye, and Lantern. But you have Altaria there to cover for Whiscash, Medicham, Sableye, Toxicroak, and even Lantern. And then Azumarill can cover pretty much the same things, except it can't cover Lantern and it can't cover Toxicroak as well. So yeah, that wraps up the team compositions. And let's go take a final last look at the team builder on PvPoke to see exactly what we're looking at here. Alright, so guys, if you want to pause the video now and look back at what the first team composition was, we have it here on PvPoke. It is Venusaur, Bastiodon, and Sableye. I have these pre-set up, so yeah, we're going to pretend we rate the team. You can see what it's weak to. It's weak to water, psychic, ice, ground, flying, fire, fighting, fairy, and that's it. And then you can see all the total weaknesses here, and then what it's overall most effective against and what it's weak to up here. But yeah, as you can see, there's pretty high percentages for win rates here. A Venusaur, Bastion, and Sableye have really high win rates, and then its potential threats. So we can pinpoint exactly what you need to watch out for. With this lineup will be Toxicroak, Steelix. I'm gonna skip everything I think is not meta. Lucario, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So really, just the three things you need to watch out for in this lineup are Toxicroak, Steelix, and Lucario. So in team composition number 2, we had Medicham, Haunter, and Skarmory. You can see their movesets here as well. You can see this team is pretty weak to Ghost. It doesn't have much resistance to it at all. And as you can see, Haunter is the weak link here, but Haunter does mad work. So you have two pretty nice tanks to go behind it. And then thing is, this meta you might see is Marowak, a Alolan version, Sableye you'll see, Skarmory. Yeah, those are the three you're gonna definitely have to watch out for. And you might see Hypno with Shadow Ball, but yeah, there's definitely ways to beat these three Pokemon. You just like every team in this meta will have weaknesses like this. I don't think there's a single team in this meta that is absolutely perfect with coverage. But if there is, and if you find one, tell me in the comments below. I would like to know. And then yeah, looking at our last team here, we got Azumarill, Altaria, and Melmetal. So this team is weak to Dragon, Electric, Fairy, Fighting, Fire, Grass, Ground, Ice, Poison, and Rock. And then I can hit a ton of Pokemon with super effective damage. And then again, as you can see the win rates, they're looking pretty nice there. And then you can see that the team has potential threats to look out for. Ludicolo, you will not be seeing. You probably won't be seeing Magneton because it's 2 times weak to ground. You might see it though. You will be seeing Wishcash maybe. Magnezone isn't out yet. Mew isn't allowed. We don't have these Pokemon yet. Gastrodon, East West, Deoxys defense isn't allowed, and then Azumarill. So basically, the main things are Azumarill and Whiscash, but these two, their ratings aren't that great against this team, and there's definitely ways to cover them. Because, if you get Melmetal against Azumarill, there's your threat gone. And if you get Azumarill against Whiscash, your threat's gone. Same with Altaria. You just need to make sure you don't get baited by a Blizzard. So yeah, that wraps up this video, guys. I hope it wasn't too much to take in or too much talking or whatever, but yeah, that's my entire... That pretty much wraps up the regionals meta for you guys, and a requested video by a viewer. So yeah, I've been spending the last 2 days working on this, and yeah, it was a lot of work, but it's worth to help you guys out. If you're struggling to build a balanced team, you could use these teams, or you could find out your own on PvPoke, or by using this spreadsheet and just comparing stats, comparing wins and losses with a team of 3 Pokemon each. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope it helps you out with your regionals team building guide, or just team building in general. And I hope it helps you understand the meta for the regionals for the most part. If it did, please don't forget to drop a like, comment, and a subscribe. I really, really appreciate it. And I want to thank you all for watching. And until next time, I'll talk to you all later. See ya.